Ladies and gentlemen, this is UX and this is What If the French Empire Reunited Today by the channel Real Life Lore. Yes, another What If Certain Empire Reunited Today series from this channel related to the British Empire one, Roman Empire and the Russian Empire, Soviet Union, sorry. So now it's the French Empire. I know France has lots of colonies in everywhere basically, and France is different in a way that those are considered mainland France. There's an island in the south of India in Indian Ocean, which is considered part of basically France, right? So if you take a flight from there to the Paris or something, it's considered inter-country flight, basically domestic flight. So that is something. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun video. Remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe so I know which type of videos to react to more. Check out the reaction, there's a link in the description. Check out the cast for plays, everything cards, and yeah. And remember, this is real life lore video. It might get blocked, so I have to put checkered box there, but I guess we'll see.
This video is made possible by Dashlane. Stay safe on the internet for free by signing up for Dashlane at dashlane.com/RLL. When you think about France today, you usually think about this France in Europe, but France is actually all over the place, like here in North America, here in the Caribbean, here in South America, here in the Indian Ocean, and over here in the Pacific Ocean. 18% of France's entire territory is actually located in all of these places that aren't Europe, and the reason for that is because of empire.
Huh. Alright. Something just occurred to me. Why does France have all these small tiny islands scattering around the globe and not major land, right? What is France planning? We all sit here and think, maybe it's United States, maybe it's China, maybe it's Russia, right? Even Germany, who knows, who will start World War III and plan for the next war. But nobody's expect France. What if they're planning Napoleon 2.0? You know what? Isn't France run solely by nuclear power? Why are they doing that? Are they harvesting tritium, creating more and more secret nuclear weapons? And all these islands are listening posts and basically, just a place to set up armies whenever they try to invade the whole world. That's a joke, people. Don't just come out to be, how could you say this and that? That's a joke.
You see, France used to be a much more outgoing country than it is today, so they took over a bunch of places that aren't France. Eventually, these non-French places decided that they were, in fact, not part of France, and France let all of them go except for these scattered places still left over today. But what if all of a sudden, overnight, all the territory that used to make up France's colonial empire suddenly became French again? How would that affect modern-day France, and what would this modern empire in the 21st century look like? First, let's give back to France all of the territory that the French...
Well, if, all the French colonies reunited, I guess the language wouldn't be an issue, right? Because all the former French colonies speak French, either as the first language or at least the second language, right? So at least, that wouldn't be, the language wouldn't be the problem.
Empire controlled at her territorial peak in 1921, just after victory in the First World War. This includes Lebanon and Syria in the Middle East, an enormous chunk of Africa, and a significant part of Southeast Asia. Back in 1921, this empire had a population of 94,696,000 people, or about 5% of the entire world's population at the time. The center of the empire was located in European France itself. 41% of the entire empire's population lived here at the time. But this is far from the case today.
Yeah.
A lot has changed in the century since, and today, this same empire with the same borders would be home to an enormous 505,188,000 people, over 5 times greater than the population in 1921, and roughly 6.5% of the world population. However, European France would only account for 13% of the entire empire's population today, largely due to massive population increases across Africa and Asia over the past century. Now Vietnam is the single largest country inside of the empire's borders, taking up 19% of the entire population and being home to about the same number of people as lived across the entire French Empire in 1921. When taking a look at the geographic population spread of the whole empire today, 5% live in the Middle East, 13% in Europe, 23% in Southeast Asia, and the vast majority of 59% live in Africa. Despite none of these areas belonging to France today,
Yeah, but this is, I guess, not a globe, right? This is 2D map. It doesn't show you the scale. This is way too bigger than even shown here. It's part of Africa and a lots of part of Africa. Look at that shit. So it's not surprising 59% will be living there.
The historical influence of France across all of these countries and even beyond can be seen by the continuing importance of the French language. 29 countries across the world,
Even the Madagascar is bigger than most of these areas.
maintain French as an official language, and 13 of those maintain it as the only official language. 7 countries in Africa have a majority of their population that can speak French, while 11 more have significant minorities where at least a quarter of the people can speak it. In total, French would still be the most commonly understood language across the modern empire, with 31% of everybody being able to understand it. Arabic would be the second most common language, with 24% understanding it, while Vietnamese would be the third best understood language at 19% understanding. Hundreds of other languages would be spoken across Africa and Asia as well, while the religious beliefs of the empire would also be very diverse. 43% of the population would adhere to Islam, 24% would be Christians, 6% would be Buddhists, 7% would be a mixture of various different faiths, while 20% would follow no religion, largely due to the trend of irreligion in France and the state-sponsored atheism of Vietnam. Across the entire empire, these would be the 10 largest cities, with the top 5 being Algiers, Hanoi, Casablanca, Paris, and Ho Chi Minh City as the largest. France alone has a nominal GDP today of 2.9
Ho Chi Minh City, where is that from? I never heard of that.
trillion dollars, which is the 7th largest in the world. But the addition of all this territory would boost that economy up to $3.9 trillion and transform it into the world's 4th largest economy, just barely ahead of Germany, but remaining behind Japan. And finally, there's the military power of this new empire to consider. France already controls the largest military in the European Union, with the 6th highest defense budget in the world. She is one of only 10 countries to currently possess an aircraft carrier, possesses an
Yeah, because after World War II, they're like, oh hell no, we are not getting invaded again and getting captured like that.
additional 10 nuclear-powered submarines, and perhaps most importantly, she controls the 3rd largest nuclear weapons arsenal in the world, possessing approximately 300 warheads. That being said, this added territory, people, and their existing militaries and equipment would supercharge the already powerful French military to staggering proportions. All combined, the French Imperial military would boast 2.1 million active duty troops, the largest such number in the world, and would in addition have 3.8 million reserves, for a total military size of 5.9 million soldiers. This would be a ferocious military that could probably take on mostly anybody in the world besides maybe the Americans or the Chinese.
Okay. What? North Korea has the big total military. Is it talking about the most number of military? North Korea has 7.5 million, South Korea 6.7, and France would have 5.9, Vietnam at 5.5, and then Russia at 2.9. Damn.
But there's one more interesting thing we can do to experiment here. Just for fun, here's some things that would happen if we added in all of the territory that the French colonial empire once controlled in North America and the Caribbean. This includes huge parts of both the United States.
Yeah, okay. Huge, are you kidding me? That's way too huge. Yeah, now France is probably the most dominant country if you include this.
And Canada, as well as both Haiti and the Dominican Republic. 77 million Americans, 25.2 million Canadians, and 21.5 million people in the Caribbean would suddenly find themselves as French subjects, which would boost the total empire's population up to 628,969,000. But what's more interesting than that are the economic results. The American territory alone adds nearly $4.2 trillion into the French economy, a higher amount than the entire collective empire's GDP was to the 1921 borders, and with far fewer people. With this and the other new Western territories, the French Empire's economy now stands at nearly $9.2 trillion, surging far ahead of Germany and Japan, but still remaining beneath China and the United States. Perhaps even more bizarrely, the loss of this massive amount of territory for America still wouldn't be enough to knock it down even one place in the list of the world's largest economy.
Yeah, because of, let's be honest, look at that. right? California, Los Angeles, and all the basically New York and places like that, right? New York too. All the places here, South Florida and everything is still part of USA right now, right? This what French did was take the middle part of it, right? And I guess Texas, they took the Texas here. This is Texas, right? So I don't know.
Japan, but still remaining beneath China and the United States. Perhaps even more bizarrely, the loss of this massive amount of territory for America still wouldn't be enough to knock it down even one place in the list of the world's largest economies. In effect, America could give back to France all of the territory that it gained from the Louisiana Purchase and still maintain its position in the world as the largest global economy at over $15.2 trillion. Even if France hired the world's greatest hackers and cheaters to steal America's land, it still just wouldn't be enough. Giant France would still just be the world's third largest economy. While your land probably can't get stolen by crazy French government hackers, a lot of other stuff can.
Yeah, people, go to dasland.com/RLL and support this channel. Damn. Okay, so I guess I'm gonna have to make a thumbnail for this video saying if you take majority of USA, still wouldn't beat USA. All this series is telling me like how overpowered USA is. Even if you take lots of land from USA, USA is still more powerful. I love this series because it's such a wishful thinking that is ridiculous. Obviously it's just some kind of a good thought experiment, but still this would never happen, right? All the Americans basically would say Second Amendment and just take the guns if that happens. So this would never happen. But this is fun to think like all the territory if get united, USA still would be number one. How is that possible? And what was that, man? North Korea, South Korea, then Vietnam. Is that the top 5 militaries? Because that is not what I would think, right? There's no USA there, not China. So I don't know. Maybe I missed something. That is the top 5 military in the world. Is that it? Well, people, that was of What If the French Empire Reunited Today by the channel RealLifeLore. If you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe. Check out the reaction I did. There's a link in the description. Check the cast of link cards, and yeah, I'll see you next time.